Everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So here today we are going to look at what is taxonomy. So taxonomy is the field of science that deals with identifying, describing, as well as naming of organisms, and at the end of the day classifying them. Let's write that definition. So that's basically what we refer to as taxonomy. So it is the field of science that involves the identification, description, as well as naming and classifying of living organisms. So now under taxonomy, it was discovered by Carl Linnaeus, who used the binomial nomenclature. So this is the father of taxonomy, who is Carl Linnaeus. So this is the father of taxonomy. So he used what we call the binomial nomenclature. So we are going to discuss this more as we proceed with the video. So the study of taxonomy will involve, taxonomy involves, these are in the definition: identifying, describing, we also talked about naming and classifying. Let's look at them. So let's begin with identifying. What is it? So under identification, this one involves recognizing. So this involves recognizing the features of an organism. So this involves recognizing the feature of an organism, such as we can be looking at things such as the shape, the size, the color, the size, the habitat, and the structure. Like for example, when we look at this, when we look at, let's say we look at a cat, and a tiger. So at first glance, you might think that these are the same organism. Let's say you have been seeing a cat, but for the first time you see a tiger for the first time. You might think that they are the same organism, maybe because a cat is raised in the domestic area, that's why it's small. But they are different. So you will get to study those. You will look at things such as the shape, the size, and all that in order for you to study. Then you are now going to go to what we call description. So under description, this is where now you are going to look at some things such as morphology. So morphology is just the structure of an organism. So the structure of an organism, how does it look? That's the morphology. Then you can also look at the reproduction. You can look at the reproduction and how its behavior is. So those are some of the things that are involved. Then we also looked at the naming, which is the naming. So under this one, this is just the assigning, the process of assigning a name. So the process of assigning a name to an organism, which is termed as nomenclature. So if you hear nomenclature, this is just a fancy way of talking about the name of an organism. So Carl Linnaeus introduced what we call the binomial. He introduced what we call the binomial nomenclature. So the binomial nomenclature, which is very, very, very important, which is, so the binomial nomenclature by definition, binomial means two. So this is a system of naming an organism using two parts. So the system of naming an organism using two parts. So these two parts are the genus and the species name. So let's talk about this. How do you name? Like for example, if you have if you are typing the genus name has to start with a capital letter, and the species name with a small letter. For example, if you are looking at a tiger, just forget about the cats. If you are looking at the tiger has got the name of Panthera tigris. So if you are writing, you will write like this. So if it is handwritten, so the first letter P, which is a P, it should be a capital letter like that. So this is the genus name, you underline it. That is if you are not typing, you underline it. So this one is the genus, then this is the species. So like this. So you will write Panthera tigris. So this is how you are going to write it, like that, if it is handwritten. If it is typed, you will write something that is in italics, like this. So we have, that is if you are typing Panthera tigris. So this is in italics, but the computer would write properly. So this is how we do it. Another animal that we can look at is the lion, which we call Panthera leo. So this is the scientific name of a lion, like that. So you can see the genus name for the lion and the tiger is the same, but the difference is the species name, which is more specific. Now you might wonder, why assign a name? Simply because, let's say you have this individual, you want to warn him that a lion is coming. You're not going to start by saying that there is an organism with a lot of fur, it has 4 limbs, it has a tail. They might not know. You just have to say the name of the lion. Now, so naming helps you avoid describing an organism each time you refer to it. So it helps avoid naming each time you refer to an organism. So that's the first importance. And also it helps in easy communication in science. So we have said easy communication. Just imagine if for each and every animal that we are referring to, we are always going to be looking at we are always going to be describing the organism. It will be very difficult. It is also important because it is used as a means of reference. We have a lot of languages, like for example, when you say lion, there are other countries that will not understand lion because they don't speak English. But let's say you are referring to if you are talking to a scientist, when you say Panthera leo, they will know that you are talking about a lion. Or when you say Panthera tigris, they'll know that you're talking about a tiger in that regard. So it is used as a means of reference. Now this naming has got we have sets of rules. So we have when assigning scientific names, there are rules. There are rules when assigning scientific names of organisms. These are what we call the ICBN and the ICZN. So let's begin with the ICBN. So this is what we call the international, that's the meaning of the letters, International Code of Botanical. So B means botanical, meaning to say we are referring to plants. Botanical nomenclature. So now this one is it is a set of international accepted rules used for naming we are going to have naming plants. So if you are naming plants, algae and fungi, you are going to use these rules. So now what does it do? So mostly this code ensures that every plant has got a unique name. So every plant, it ensures that every plant has got a unique name. So here we are referring to plants, fungi, algae, if it is different. So we have unique names. It is responsible for unique names. So like for example, if you are looking at the mango tree, when you say mango tree, there are some countries that will not be able to, some scientists to be specific, that will not be able to understand from other countries where they don't speak English. So the unique name can be what we call Mangifera indica. So you can see we underline like that. So this is the genus, this is the species. So if it is underline, if it is handwritten, you underline. If it is not handwritten, if it is typed, you are italicized. But everything is the same, like capital letter, small letter, and all that. So this is you assigning a unique name. So now this same thing is what causes what we call universal or uniform naming standard. So now here we can talk about the way an organism is supposed to have two parts naming standard, and also it is uniform throughout. If you just talk about the Mangifera indica, you are talking about the same organism. Then we are also going to, if you look at another example that we have is humans. Humans are Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens, those are thinking man. So this one is the genus, this one is the species. So now, why is this important? This also helps in avoiding, though this example is not under so this is not under the ICBN, which is the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. Homo sapiens should be for the animals, but anyways, I was just showing you more. So now when we look at this, it also helps avoid confusion caused by local or common names. So due to this, you will find that there will be less confusion because you will just have one name like that. So the other sets of rules, so we have said avoiding confusion. The other sets of rules are what we call the ICZN. If you recall, this is a mango tree. We call it the Mangifera indica. Just a reminder. Now, when you're referring to animals, that is where now the ICZN comes in, which is the International Code of Zoological. So zoological has to do with animals. ICZN nomenclature. Let me write it here. Nomenclature. So this one is responsible for assigning specific names. So remember what we called the lion. We said it is Panthera. So capital letter there, Leo, like that. So this is responsible for assigning names to organisms. So this one also ensures, so that this one also ensures every animal has a unique name. That's number one. So this also applies to all animals. So this also applies to all animals. Whether you are looking at insects, whether you are looking at mammals, or birds. So it doesn't matter. It will still cater for that. So this also, so the answers are just the same for the ICZN and the ICBN. So it also ensures that there is no confusion, because organisms have one specific name. So that is basically what we refer to as the introduction to taxonomy. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you would like, subscribe, and share for more. See you in the next tutorial.